Welcome to another episode of Strictly Business Unscripted. I'm your host, Keandra Jones. This podcast educates, ignites inspiration, fosters encouragement, and paves the way for growth among small businesses and the overall Oak Cliff community. And today we have a very special show. I've got a dear friend of mine, Mr. Don Herring. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Keandra. I appreciate you having me here today. I don't know how special I am, but I'll try to make this show as special as possible.
You are very, very special to the entire Oak Cliff community. Welcome to Strictly Business Unscripted, the Oak Cliff Chambers podcast. Did you ever see the day that? Did you ever imagine?
I never imagined. But for most of my life, there was no such thing as a podcast. So, in all fairness, I had a little bit of a handicap there.
Well, understood. Well, so today we're just going to walk through a few different things, talk about some things. You've been a friend of mine for a very long time. Most people know who you are, and at a minimum, they know what you do. Because when we're driving on 67, we see Don Herring Mitsubishi, and so most folks know.
We've been in the neighborhood for a few years.
For a few years. How long?
Well, my dad started working for Lyle Osmond in 1979, I want to say.
Okay.
78, 79, somewhere right in there.
Okay.
And Lyle Osmond, who was down there on 67 and Keast,
Mm-hmm.
had two daughters, had no interest in the car business.
Mm-hmm.
And so he literally put my dad into business.
Really?
Yes. With Lyle was like a grandfather to us as kids.
Mm-hmm.
And so by 1985, it became Osmond Herring.
Okay.
And then Dad finished buying it out and it became Don Herring.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Huh.
So
That's very interesting.
We've been in this community for, well, I'm not going to count that many years, for a few years.
For a few years, a few decades.
And I love Oak Cliff.
I know that you do.
I love everything about Oak Cliff. Mainly, they got the best restaurants. And you're already harassing me about going to Breakfast Brothers.
Yes.
So I'm going to Breakfast Brothers.
I
hear there's no calories in any of the food on Fridays.
On Fridays,
So-
it is 0 calorie Friday at the Breakfast Brothers.
But all the food down here is incredible.
It
because
is.
once you get on the other side of the river, nothing wrong with the other side of the river, but there's a lot of chains that it's just not the same.
Well, there's plenty wrong with the other side of the river, but we may not talk about that part just yet. But usually I start the show by introducing you.
Okay.
And telling folks who you are, at least on paper. But I'd love for you to introduce yourself. Who is Don Herring?
I'm just a pasty white bald
See,
Aggie used car salesman.
You cannot say that. You cannot. I mean, you can say it. This is unscripted. So you can totally say what you want to. Okay. So, yes, who are you?
No, outside of just being an Aggie used car salesman, that's mainly who I am. I grew up in the auto business. My dad started selling cars when I was very young.
Mm-hmm.
And so I grew up in watching him sell cars, and so that's what I knew.
Mm-hmm.
I went off to college. Really and truly talked about Lyle Osmond, who put my dad into business.
Mm-hmm.
So I was going to go to Baylor because I grew up in the Baptist church. Mm-hmm. And all of y'all who grew up in the Baptist church know that Baylor is the place that every good young Baptist wants to go to school.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I was going to go to Baylor.
Mm-hmm.
And Lyle came to me and says, well, you should just go visit A&M. My daughter went to A&M and I think you'd like it. So because of Lyle, I went and visited A&M and I fell in love.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I went to school there. But shortly after getting out of A&M, I came back up here and started working with my father in 93 and worked with him until he passed away in 22.
Okay. Well, so there's so many things that I want to talk to you about, including the conversation we started downstairs.
Okay.
So we're going to table that one for a second. But you are a lover of Oak Cliff.
I am a lover of Oak Cliff. Oak Cliff has got trees, they've got hills, and they've got diversity. Mm-hmm. And we've got the most amazing diversity. And that probably leads to some of the good restaurants. Mm-hmm. I keep going back to food. I'm sorry.
So tell us about your favorite one. You want to talk about food. You're hungry. So we're going to go to Breakfast Brothers.
we're going to breakfast. No, but when you come to Oak Cliff, Texas, we are the melting pot. When you were going to school as a kid, you were told about the Statue of Liberty and about all the immigrants who came to this country and how the U.S. is a melting pot. Not all the U.S. really is a melting pot. Oak Cliff really is a melting pot. we have great diversity, and that diversity gives us a mixture of cultures you don't see in other places,
Right.
which gives us incredible food. And I don't know if they're all members or not, but from Sweet Georgia Browns to La Calle Doce to all the everything we have down in Bishop Arts District. I mean, just depending on where you go in Oak Cliff, you can find any kind of food, and it's all incredible.
That's right. That's right. So what made you fall in love with the place? Was it you fell in love with the place and then came the dealership, or was it the dealership and then?
The dealerships certainly came first, because
Okay.
Lyle hired my father. My dad was looking for a job. My dad was working with a man named Dan Hickson, who was putting in a Volkswagen store over in Fort Worth, Texas.
Okay.
So we lived literally in Fort Worth, Texas, and my dad's working over here in Oak Cliff.
Oh,
And so
that's quite a drive.
That's quite a drive. And he did it for a couple of years before he decided that's too long of a drive.
Yeah.
And so we moved from Fort Worth. So certainly it was because of Lyle Osmond and because of the dealerships. That's what brought us to Oak Cliff.
Okay.
Then once we got here, the community is just absolutely incredible. If you don't believe me, Sunday night, go down to Jefferson Avenue when the Dallas lowriders are parading up and down the street, and people are coming out and selling cupcakes and pan dulce and different things. I mean, it is just an amazing place like nothing else in North Texas.
I agree with that. And you've served this community well, specifically with this organization.
I have. I was, me and my father, I think, were one of two father-son chairs of the Oak Cliff Chamber of Commerce. And when I first started serving, we were fighting the reputation of being the white chamber. And we were talking about what a great melting pot Oak Cliff is, and I really believe that with my whole heart and soul. But then we had trouble reaching certain parts of Oak Cliff because everyone saw us as the lily white chamber. And it's like, well, that's not who we are. It's not who we want to be. And Autry Warren, I believe, was the first black chair, and I think Bob Garza was the first Latino chair.
That's right.
And was Danelle Lichtenwalter the first woman chair?
I think that's right.
So
Yeah.
those are all three recent people. I mean, some of you may be younger than me, may not think they're recent, but for me, that's really recent history.
Yeah.
And so in order to really maximize our strengths, to be able to take the best from every culture, to be able to take the best from everyone who's available, we need to be diverse. If you try to say we want to be just a chamber that serves just this minority group, then you're losing out on the strengths and you're losing out on the capital that's available in the other groups. When we come together, when everyone brings their talents together, when everybody brings what they have to offer together, that's when we win.
Yeah, I agree. And as I started telling you downstairs, one of the things that I've had to face is, because I'm the first black president of this organization, then I've been called so many different names. Some are fitting, some are not. But because of the reputation of the organization, I've been considered a sellout, a white girl, all the things. And when I first started, it was hurtful.
I can imagine that. I can really imagine that. I talked, I think I told you this, and I'm going to mention Ron Kirk's name. If anybody in the Kirk family is watching this, and if I'm speaking out of school, please let me know or let Kendra know.
Yeah.
But several years ago, I was talking to Ron about this division. And really and truly, because in my mind, Ron Kirk, he eclipsed any divisions.
Yeah.
Everybody loved Ron Kirk.
That's right.
It didn't matter what race you were. You knew that Ron Kirk got us the American Airlines Center. You knew that Ron Kirk made Dallas a productive, successful city. So everybody loved Ron Kirk. But we were talking, having some very frank conversation. I said, but why is Sunday the most segregated day in all of Dallas? Because on Sundays, all the black people go to the black church, and all the white people go to the white church, and all the Latinos go to the Latino church. I'm like, I don't get it. When we should all be worshiping the same God, and we should be worshiping God together. And I'm going to paraphrase kind of what he was telling me at the time. He's like, well, when he's mayor and when he's in front of a crowd, he's got to maintain a certain, almost perfection, because of who he is, he can't make any mistakes, because if he makes any mistakes, that would have been counted against him.
Right.
So on Sundays, he could go to his church and he could relax.
Yeah.
He could just be him.
Yeah.
And I think to some extent that is still true, but I think we need to get past that.
Yeah.
I think we've got to get to the point to where we all realize, hey, we all make mistakes. We all goof off.
Mm-hmm.
Most of us watch TV shows.
I wish I were one of those people.
No, no one's perfect.
Yeah.
We're all children of God. We're all created in the image of God, and Christ loved us so much that he came and gave himself, sacrificed himself for our sins, and we're all created in his image. Mm-hmm. We're not, it's not that just the Jewish people are created in his image, or just the black people are created in his image, or just the white people are created in his image. Mm-hmm. So if we're all created in his image and we all have something to bring to the table, let's do it together.
I agree. And while I will, I'll say that we've made improvements in those areas, we're still not where we need to be.
I think you're exactly right.
We're not where we need to be. And so I agree with what you're saying as far as church is concerned. I've always wanted to be a part of a diverse, community to worship, in a diverse setting, because that's what our community looks like, especially here in Oak Cliff. But I've got some friends that feel very, very different about that and think that there needs to remain the separation, which I disagree with.
Well, and I think it just comes to a comfort level. I think a lot of people are comfortable around people where they don't have to watch their P's and Q's, so to speak.
That's unfortunate.
And it's very unfortunate.
And on the reverse side of that, it's unfortunate that we are such a community of, and I think you were kind of speaking to this, how judgmental we are as a society, that we can't exist in these spaces without all of the judgment.
Well, and you're exactly right. As the president of the Oak Cliff Chamber of Commerce, right, wrong, or indifferent, when you're speaking to people, their expectation is very high. Mm-hmm. And if you don't use the Queen's English, this was not going to ever be president, because I butcher the language all the time.
As do I.
But all of a sudden, you'll start getting harassed. Yeah. And then if you do use the Queen's English, then you get harassed for speaking like that.
Yeah.
So it's really a difficult situation to be in.
It's a double-edged sword. It really is, because it's being in this skin, sometimes I'm too black and sometimes I'm too white. Mm-hmm. So it's very difficult. Sometimes I speak too white and sometimes yes, it's all the things. We've got a long way to go.
We've got a very long way to go, but we've come a long way. And to your point, you go back to the Voting Rights Act, which I think a lot of people want to do away with now, but that's another podcast, probably on another station.
Yeah, that's right.
But, the Civil Rights Act, you go back to the pre-'60s and you look at when there were white fountains and black fountains, and when there was you hear the stories about how black people had to sit at the back of the bus or things like that. So you can say, okay, we've made a lot of progress in 50 years, but then there's still a lot of systemic issues that separate us. And until we can get rid of all the systemic issues that separate us, I don't think we can ever truly realize all that we can accomplish.
So with that being said, Don, do you think, so we've acknowledged that there has been some progress. So, and I don't want to go too far one way or the other, especially in this political climate. This is
an apolitical show.
So I don't know that I want to go too far, but do you think that the progress will continue, or do you think we will regress?
I think it's like everything, and it doesn't matter whether you're talking about technology or the stock market or racial relations. Mm-hmm. I think we will make progress and we'll regress.
Okay.
And then we'll make progress and then we'll regress. I think the pendulum swings back and forth.
Okay.
But I think every time it swings, it goes up a little bit. Kind of like the stock market. Stock market comes, we're down, 12 days in a row now? It's been coming down. But I know it's going to go back up.
Yeah.
And at the end of the year, it's going to be higher than it was last year.
Okay.
So I think we make progress. I don't think it ever happens as fast as we want to. And I don't think it ever comes without taking a couple steps back and going, oh, crud, what did I just do? We need to go back the other direction.
Yeah. So you've been around the Oak Cliff, not only chamber, but community a long time. What do you think that this organization could do to help with this
I think this organization's been very instrumental, and I think back to the formation of Bishop Arts. And, of course, Jim and Amanda Lake have been very involved in this organization.
Yes.
But even going back then, David Spence and Joe McElroy and many others helped to create a place in Oak Cliff where people were coming from out of town to go to.
Right.
Which, when we first came to Oak Cliff, that was unthinkable.
Right.
And I can remember with one of your predecessors, Lena, at the top of this very building, on the top of the cliff. I don't think the top of the cliff's there anymore.
No.
But back then, we used to have galas, dinners at the top of the cliff. And we were looking out the window, and it was like, if we ever connect these dots, because we've got all these great things going on here, and great things going on here, and great things going on here. If we can connect these dots, won't it be wonderful? And some of that's happening, and it happens in spurts, and it's kind of like everything else. It moves forward, it moves backwards. But the Trinity Forest Trail is incredible. The Audubon Center is incredible. This new bike lane is going to come right down through Keith Park. And Keith Park's always been great, but sometimes it's been a little bit isolated. But now you're going to have this bike trail that's going to come through Keith Park and go down to, oh my goodness, the name of that creek, is that 10 Mile Creek? And cut across. But all of a sudden, we're starting to see some things that are connecting things together. I think that we need to get past, I love Bishop Arts, but I forget what I was the other day. I was like on Hampton. I saw something that said Bishop Arts. I said, no, this is not Bishop. They're all the way on Hampton.
No, it's not.
So I think we need to say we've got more than just Bishop Arts to offer.
That's right.
That we've got a lot of great, incredible neighborhoods. And I think Wynwood is a great, incredible neighborhood.
I agree.
And I think that there's several places where we have great, incredible neighborhoods. So we need to start letting people know, hey, it's not just Bishop Arts in Oak Cliff.
That's right. So when you do go across the river.
Yeah. And I know what you meant when you said go across. I grew up on this side of town.
Okay. I live in my bubble. I live in the Oak Cliff bubble. It is rare that I go.
Of course, when I was young, going across meant you were going to get alcohol because you couldn't get alcohol this side of the river.
Okay. Well, not to go get alcohol. But when you do go over there, I know that your nose probably bleeds when when you go over there with those other people. What is the perception of Oak Cliff now versus what was it 30 or 40 years ago?
Well, I think one of the positive is there used to be the Oak Cliff O. Exactly. I don't think you're hearing that O as often.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
I think a lot of people are dropping that O because I think that's one of the things that Bishop Arts did do is it opened up Oak Cliff to the rest of the city and to North Texas. And again, Dallas Baptist University has got to be one of those beautiful universities. Yes. Yeah. So we've got so many incredible things going on this side of the river.
Right.
That I think once people started coming down here because they read about Bishop Arts, I was going to say in the newspaper. I know no one's reading newspapers anymore.
No.
They probably read about it on their Twitter or.
Well, they just read the paper online. Okay. That's all. That's how it happens.
But once they started coming down here and they realized this is a cool community.
Yeah.
Jefferson is probably one of the coolest downtown areas, even though it's not technically a downtown. It's downtown Oak Cliff.
It is.
And it's a cool area.
Yeah.
So I think we're getting to the point now to where we're losing the O at the end of Oak Cliff.
Yeah, I agree with that. But, I still hear it, except it's not the O. Like, Oh, you live there? Like a pity, like they have
Yeah,
pity
yeah,
on
yeah.
us. Oh, it's like, oh, you live in Oak Cliff. One of the things that I try to do is not talk about Bishop Arts. I love Bishop Arts. I love Jim and
But
Amanda.
everybody already knows about it.
Yeah, it's, since they do, let's talk about some other assets that are here in Oak Cliff, And I'm intentional about that because with Redbird being what it is, our deck park that's coming here, our Dallas, we have so many beautiful assets here.
Oh, that Dallas Zoo's incredible.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you've not been to the zoo lately, from the time I was a kid, I know y'all are looking at me saying, "Man, he looks old." But
No one
it is so
no
much.
one's saying that.
It is so large, so incredible. They've done such a wonderful job. It's such a cool place to take your kids, your grandkids, or just go. Just go to have fun.
Yeah, yeah.
And I can't wait for the deck park to be finished.
Me either.
I'm sure you've seen all the designs for when it's fully built out.
Yeah.
That's going to be amazing.
Yeah, I cannot wait. Now, okay, we're going to transition a little bit because you've been in the car business so very long. Tell me, how were things being a business owner? Now, you guys have been in business a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And you've ridden these waves, the pandemic and all of the things. How do you maintain through all the highs and lows of business?
Great cost control. I mean, that's it. When you make money, you got to put it away because you're going to end up losing money, right?
Yeah.
So we were very blessed in 21 and 22, the post-pandemic years. We made some money, and then we put it away, and now times have gotten more difficult because interest rates have gone up and car prices have gone up. Trust me, your car dealer doesn't want car prices as high as they are either. But car prices have gone up. So it's created an affordability issue with cars. And I think it'll come back. I'm not saying car prices will go down. I think interest rates will start to come down. Rebates will come back. And affordability will come back on cars. But really and truly being disciplined. And when I say disciplined, I mean good cost controls. Making sure you don't spend money if you don't have to spend money. Because that's what's going to get you through. Where you get in trouble is when you have great years and you think, oh, man, we're doing great. And you think it's always going to be that way. And Phil Butler, who worked for us, actually he predated my dad at the dealership with Lyle Osmond. He used to say, when it's good, you're not that good. And when it's bad, you're not that bad. The point being, there are going to be these cycles. So when it's good, don't let it go to your head.
Right.
Put the money away because you're going to need it.
Yeah.
And when it's bad, don't think you've forgotten how to be a business person. You're really not bad. It's just the market. So you're going to have to take some of that money back to keep things going.
Yeah.
But it will get good again.
Yeah. Oh, what great advice. What wonderful advice. So you've been a businessman for a long time, as we've
Yeah,
established.
thanks for not saying the number of years. I appreciate that.
But you also have a wonderful family.
I do. I've got a wonderful family. My wife is a 5th grade teacher. She teaches American history and absolutely loves it. Actually, my youngest sister also teaches 5th grade American history. So I got 2 history teachers in my family. My daughter teaches special education at Branch Elementary School in the Bryan ISD.
Okay.
So because I've got so many teachers in my family, education is, of course, very important to me.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do you maintain work and life and maintain a balance?
Maintain a balance. Well, luckily, my wife is very patient and understanding. I think that's the main thing.
So you married well.
I did. I married well. I married above myself, so that helped out quite a bit.
Okay.
And as a teacher, and she typically taught at my kids' schools.
Oh, wow.
So
smart.
my poor kids were never able to get away with anything.
I didn't even think about it from a kid's perspective. Oh, man. Oh.
But they've turned into some incredible young adults. Yeah. My daughter does a wonderful job, and she has truly got a calling. I mean, I think all teachers have a calling.
I do too.
Because you're not doing it for the money.
Yeah.
But my daughter's got a calling. I'm going to brag on her real quick, and then we can go on. But when she did her first year in special education, they call it SPED, this one little girl tried to stab her with some scissors and told her that she wouldn't last, that none of her teachers last, that she's going to go away just like every other teacher she's ever had.
Oh, wow.
By the December break, by the Christmas break, that same little girl told my daughter she was the best teacher she'd ever had. Now, see, I would not have the patience to keep working at building that relationship with that kid. I would have, once that kid tried to stab me with the scissors, I'd have been done.
Yeah.
But my daughter's got the patience and the heart to keep working and trying to reach these kids.
Wow.
And she's making a difference. And my son, he's a civil engineering major at A&M, so he'll go on to be an engineer. So neither one of them have any interest in the car business, which is a little bit sad.
Yeah. You know, well, that is a result of great parenting. You and your wife obviously did an amazing job to have those.
Well, certainly Stacy did.
You know, Don, so I've known you for well over a decade, I would imagine, probably longer. And you maintain you're just always such a positive, delightful person to be around.
Well, thank you.
You really are. And I know every day can't be as great as you make it seem. How do you maintain that?
You know, I think the best advice is actually comes straight out of the Bible. And it says, basically, I'm going to paraphrase here because I'm just going to quote it, but then I thought, well, if I quote, I'm going to mess it up. But trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all of your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make your path straight. And I think that's what you got to remember. When it looks terrible, you got to remember, hey, God's in control.
That's right.
As long as I trust God, things are going to be okay.
Wow. I don't know what else can be said after that.
I'm sorry.
No.
This probably isn't supposed to be a religious podcast either. It's supposed to be business, right?
It is everything.
But I will say this. I do think so much of business and being successful in business, you can come straight out of the Bible.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. Yeah, I agree with that. Well, we're getting close to the end, but one of the things that I like to try to do is give you an opportunity to ask me a question. Anything.
To ask you a question?
Anything, yeah, that comes to mind.
Wow. Man, that's a surprise. I wish I could have prepared. I could have gone through what I really want to know about Keandra.
What is one thing you want to know?
Let me ask you this. What has been your biggest challenge taking on this Chamber of Commerce?
That's a great question. The biggest challenge would be Keandra feeling unworthy to do it.
Man, and you've, I think, exceeded everyone's expectations.
Thank you.
I don't know if anyone's told you that enough times, but you've done
you.
an outstanding job.
Thank you. When I was recommended, Bob, my predecessor, Bob Stimson, as he was leaving, he told the executive committee, basically, in all of Bob's Bobness, and we know how he is. He's awesome, but he's passionate.
He is passionate.
And
he's always been passionate.
I can tell. And he told them, the executive committee, that they would be stupid, and I am paraphrasing, if they did not hire me. And I was like, no, no, it's not. And so that was, it was a huge challenge because I didn't see me being like Bob, because he was so everything. He was Mr. Community. He was
former city council,
Yeah.
all those things. Bob, if you're watching this, I think Keandra's a better president than you were. Love you. Great job. I like her better.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you. It has been an honor, though, to serve. And it's been an honor to serve alongside you and folks just like you that have just made this organization, this community great. So
this is a great community.
It is.
With a lot of great people.
Yeah, it is. So thank you for being here with us today.
Well,
thanks for everything you've done.
Thanks for the invitation.
Yeah, you're going to come back and talk to us?
Anytime you want. Of course, if your ratings start tanking after this episode,
they're going to skyrocket. They're going to skyrocket.
Don't want to invite him back again.
That's funny. Well, thank you again for being here, and I look forward to continuing to work with you in this community and look forward to seeing all the things you're going to continue to do.
Well, thank you, Keandra.
I'm your host, Keandra Jones, and again, thank you for watching another episode of Strictly Business Unscripted. We'll see you next time.